Hello, and welcome to another wonderful episode of the Overcome Yourself podcast. As you know, my name is Nicole, and I'm here today with Genine, and I'm so excited. You are like a medical intuitive healer or something. Did I get that right? Can you tell us a little bit more about you?
Yes, I am what you call a medical intuitive. So what that means is I have a background with feminist psychology as well as I do energy work. So I get both aspects. We get the clinical and the spiritual, and we're meshing
So
it.
important, right?
Yes.
That is awesome. So, tell me about your journey. Tell me how you became a medical intuitive and how you help your clients, and your,
Okay.
your audience.
Well, my life was a lot of pit stops, like depressing pit stops. Okay. And I kept noticing a pattern that was going on in regards to traumas that kept popping up for me. And I became homeless and I was addicted to drugs and alcohol. And I was going from narcissistic relation to narcissistic relation and then abusive relationships and just not loving myself. But I thought I was loving myself. And after many, many years of just meeting the same situation in different people, I had an accident and I ended up in the hospital for 3 months paralyzed on my right side. And from there, everybody that I thought was there for me didn't really show up, right? It was people that I had no clue were actually in my corner. And I had a lot of time to reflect. And from that, I was in a band and like I was traveling and doing really crazy lifestyle. And I just decided that, this isn't for me anymore. Like I keep doing the same thing over with no positive results. So I actually ended up leaving a really toxic relationship, packing up my stuff with me and my daughter, moved to another province and started diving into studies. And I first started diving into the spiritual realm. So I wound up learning about shamanism, and then I learned about angels, and then I went to school to learn about counseling, and then feminist psychology, and then like the list goes on and on. And I realized that it was me creating all of this stuff. And what it stemmed from was the trauma that I endured as an adolescent, right? And it was like these light bulbs went off and I was like, bing, oh my God. Like I was in this headspace that like everything was happening to me, not for me. And so I was stuck. And then when I started diving into more of my studies and healing more of myself inwards and dealing with all that stuff, what happened was I realized that, it's easier. And then life became so much easier. And then I started manifesting all this stuff. And I was like, whoa, just because I shifted my thought process and I dove in. And then from taking like the clinical psychology stuff that I did, what happened was I realized that you have to live the experience of trauma over and over again, right? And so I was like, there's got to be a simpler way so that people aren't constantly reliving what they've gone through. And like I've gone through it all: physical, mental, psychological, all of like sexual, all of that abuse. And so I figured, I was like, there's got to be an easier way for people to move past this, to start getting and the abundance and the love and everything that they're truly desiring. So that's when I dove even more into my studies. And I started to create my own programs for people of what I've learned so that there's an easier roadmap. And that's when I was like, okay, this is my calling. I thought music was my calling because I was really good at it, but no, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I love it.
Is so incredible. And like, using what we've been through and leaning into those things and realizing, that we can use them to help others because we have insights into really dark situations, where we've walked that road and we can say, you know what, it sucks right now.
Yeah,
But
well, that's so true. And like I'd have so many people throughout my life, like random strangers. Okay, this is kind of why I went into it too. Random strangers, I'd be at the bus stop and they're like pouring me out their whole life story, and I'm like, what is going on here? Like, why is this happening? And then the more I allowed it and accepted what was happening, I realized I was like, whoa, these people are coming to me because they feel that I have something that they need because I've been through it and I didn't recognize it, because this has been like, even when I was in my darkest shadow, dealing with like depression and like the addictions and like my homelessness and stuff like that, I still had all these people asking me for advice and what to do. And at that point, like, I didn't have the extra knowledge that I have now, but I had the internal knowledge, right?
Nice.
And it's kind of cool because now I'm like, whoa, like this has kind of been my path my whole life, but I denied it for so long. And now it's like, okay, well, I have this, I can help you and I can get you there from point A to point B so much quicker than doing it for like me, it's been 30 some years, right? Like I'm over 30 and I'm doing it
like I made the mistake, so you don't have to.
Yeah, it's like I've done all the mistakes. There's not something that you can shock me with. So let's get down and clear it.
I love it. Yeah. And you know what? It takes a lot, of courage. I just want to say, like, I appreciate you being brave enough to talk about the things that you've been through and to lean into them and use them to help other people, because sometimes those situations can seem insurmountable. I've
Yeah,
been through a lot of those things too. And I remember what it was like not knowing where I was going to lay my head at night. And
yeah.
that's scary. And I mean, scary is not even a word for it, you know?
No. Well, and that's what drove me into drugs, because then I couldn't feel it, right? Like,
Exactly, you know, and then, but those are the patterns we have to recognize and realize that the trajectory that we're on is way more important than where we are right now. And so you were
yeah,
able to change your trajectory. And even though you were in that circumstance, your trajectory was, onto a better path. Do
yeah.
you find that that's true? Do you think that
Oh,
that
100%. Like when I took the leap and decided to pack everything with no plan, like I had no plan, no money. I was like, I literally jumped ship, and it was scary. It was so scary, but doing it was the best thing I ever did, because my life, it was like waiting for me to take that leap.
yes.
And it was like in the background, like my guides were like, hello, you gotta go. And once I did, they're like, we've got you. I'm not going to say it was super easy, because it was a little hard at times. Right. And that's the
Little.
thing. Like, well, it was hard, but like it got
Yeah,
easier. It got way easier.
absolutely.
And looked at everything. I started to see it from a different perspective. And then that's what made it easier. And I was like, whoa, okay, well, this is where I was even like at the time, like a week ago. This is where I am now. Like I moved, and then all of a sudden a house popped up for me. And I had no money. And then money, people were like, hey, I've got you. And I'm like, I don't even know you.
Yeah.
Like, thank you. They were like my little earth angels, I called them.
Yes. And you know what? It's something I talk about in my book. Those baby steps, those little habits, they end up leading to quantum leaps. Like you don't
Yes.
even realize that it's happening. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I have a
Yeah.
business. Oh my God, I have this. And you realize, it's not that it just popped up out of nowhere,
No, people
but it
are
kind of
asking.
feels like that sometimes too,
Yeah.
because you're just,
Oh,
you're just doing your thing.
I have friends of mine from the past, like they're now acquaintances, but they message me from time to time and they're like, how did you do it? And I'm like, it took a lot of work. Like you didn't see what I had to do behind the scenes, right? And that's what people forget. Like they just think that it just happens like that. No, but it can. It can. That's the thing. But it takes the work. And people are afraid to do the work. And what they need to understand is the work, even though it seems hard, it's not. It gets so easy. As soon as you take that first step, it's the momentum starts going, right? And it just becomes easier and easier. And then all of a sudden you're looking at your whole world and you're like, whoa, I created this. Like this is amazing.
Yeah. And you know what? I was talking about in another interview about how sometimes you reach like these levels and these walls and this trauma, and it's so scary. And I remember, reaching that point in my business, in my life, and then getting scared because it's really scary. And But when you adjust your perspective, when you turn on a light, you know, like Dumbledore says, if you turn on a light, you realize that that's not a wall. It's like a sheet, and you just thought it was a wall. And
Oh,
it's
so
so
true.
much easier to get through. You just have to do it. You know, you just have to take imperfect action and go. And it like it just it's an illusion. It just falls
Yeah.
apart. It's
But
never
that's
as scary
what
as you
that
think.
is. That's our dysfunction coming out, right?
Mhm.
And I tell my clients all the time, I'm like, you know, when you're hitting that wall, you got to remember that this is what you asked for. So you're being tested, right? You're being
Yes.
tested to see if you really want it, because it's right there. It's right on the other side of that wall. And it's like, are you going to do what you set out to do? And a lot of times people get so frustrated, right? Because in their mind, they think that this is big and significant, this wall, because they're so used to that dysfunction. So it plays out, and it's like, it's trying to trick you. It's the shadow aspect of ourselves. And it's like,
You
no,
know,
honey, you've got this. You've got this.
I read actually what you said in a book. The I don't remember her name, but um, she talks about how when you start manifesting, all of a sudden it seems that everything goes to shit, and you're like,
Mhm.
wait a second, this is not what they said in that movie. This is not what they told me online. Everything is just supposed to be like rainbows and butterflies, and I'm supposed to get a car because I said that. But
No.
no, but it doesn't work like that.
No.
That shit that hits the fan,
Yeah.
those are the lessons that you need to
Yeah.
get to that next level. So
Oh,
you're
100%.
literally getting what you're asking for. And you've
Yeah.
gotta, you've gotta level
Yeah.
up, man.
You gotta push through it. And like, I teach manifestation as well. And that is like, I tell my clients, you know, this is just a bump. It's to test it again, it's to test you. Do you really want that? Because
And
you
you know
said you
what?
wanted it. And so what happens, like I teach about the law of the universe too. So when you ask, even if it is negative, you're going to get more negative of
Yes.
what you're asking. So when you're looking for the positive, you're going to get the positive, but negative things are going to pop up to make sure that you're ready for what you asked for, because it's not just going to deliver it. And that's where that movie didn't tell you.
Yes. I love how you know exactly what I'm talking about. And another thing is that we have to remember that when we're doing new things, our brain is trying to keep us safe. And so
Yes.
something that was really, really helpful to me was I had to keep reminding myself, you are safe.
Yes.
You are
Oh
safe.
man, affirmations are amazing.
Yes.
Like they totally reprogram your brain. I use them
And
all the time.
yes, and you have to really let your brain know, because if you're constantly in that flight or fight response, you're going to always be exhausted. I mean, if your brain always thinks there's a tiger running after you, what are you going to get done? Like
Nothing.
you're always feel like you've got to go somewhere, like I got to get out, I got to go, I got to go.
Well,
And
it's that victim mentality that we get stuck in because of our dysfunction. And when you
yes,
can recognize the dysfunction, you can push it aside. Other people call it your shadow. It's the same thing, right? So when you look at it head on, you're like, oh, you're not so scary. And then you can push it
exactly.
quietly away, and you can focus on what you're doing to get that thing that you really, really want.
And then it becomes, if you have to look at that big domino, and those little things that come up, that's not the big domino. Those are little issues that are distracting you.
Yeah.
Once you establish the business, guess what? All those money problems go away.
Yep.
Once you get this done, all this other stuff goes away. Once you got money, you can go to the doctor, all that other stuff goes away.
Yep.
And so it's like knocking out a big domino, and then all these other ones, like a
Everything
big
else.
light comes on, and you're like, oh, this is like literally an illusion.
It's
It's
so
amazing.
true. It's like the Matrix a little bit.
It is like, yes, it is, right? So you've gone from where you started to now you are going to be hosting a retreat. So
Yes.
I want you to tell me all about that. That sounds amazing.
Well, I actually just finished a retreat for the Lions Gate. We were,
Wow.
yeah, it was awesome. There was 8 of us, and like I did a small intimate group, and it was absolutely amazing. Me and another one of my colleagues, we hosted it, and we did crystal journeying with crystal bowls, and then we took people on a drum journey to connect with like their inner selves, and then we taught a lot of like love and expansion. It was so beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And then we gave people tools and homework. We're like, it's not just fun here. This is what you need to implement. And I'm actually going to be checking in with everybody after to see like in a month from now where they are from that and what progress is coming in their lives from what we did, because we were like clearing up blockages for them, right, and helping them with creativity, because a lot of them want better paying jobs, and some of them want to create their own jobs, some of them just want to get out of the trauma. So it gave each individual person their own unique pathway to
So,
help them, right? It was so wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful. I actually have another retreat coming up on, what is it, the 21st, Friday? Yeah, this Friday.
oh,
I have
wow.
another retreat. I'm doing one with some little girls, actually. I'm so excited. We are going to help them bring out their warriorista, like their goddess energy. And like,
Oh,
we're going to make little crowns with them and get them like in their zone and empowering them. It's going to be beautiful. And then afterwards, I'm doing it's kind of like coincide with their moms. So we're going to be doing some stuff with their moms as well, under like the full moon, which is going to be pretty amazing.
wow.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
That is so, so cool. So what advice do you have for up and coming entrepreneurs who are starting from scratch, kind of like you and I had to do? What are your like top 3 tips for manifesting the life of their dreams?
Well, the first thing is don't give up. Like when things get hard,
Man,
don't give up, because right when
that's
you're
when
about
it's
to,
about to get
yeah,
good.
that's right when you're about to give up, it is usually just about to happen. And like I watch this all the time with like some of my older clients when I was working with them, they would get to this wall. I get like back to the wall talk. And I'm like, honey, it's about to happen. They're like, I don't know. And I'm like, let's switch that train of thought. Okay. Let's come back to the goal that you're trying to reach. Let's not worry about what's happening in the immediate around you. Let's look at the goal. And then they come back to me a week later and they're like, oh my God, I just did this. And I'm like, yeah, that's amazing. I told you, like,
Something
and
amazing
yes,
happened,
it's
just like
amazing.
you told me.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, and then again, like now they're doing it and they're helping other people, which is awesome. And that's the whole thing, right? Is we all help each other. The second one, I think my advice would be, if you're stuck, ask for help, right? Don't do everything by yourself. And I tried to do that. I got so overloaded. Coaches need coaches. Like, and that's the whole thing. We all have different knowledge, and we like to, like, I know myself personally, I like to take on the world. And I think I can. Well, I used to anyways. And I realized in my own journey that when I was doing things like my website, for example, I'm not a tech person, but I was worried about hiring someone and giving them money, because at the time my money was lower. And I was like, well, if I give that, then maybe I won't be able to get this. But I always got what I needed, right? So when you need help, don't be afraid of the limitations that you can see right in front of you, because the universe will always give back. You'll always get more than what you need if you put out. And that's a huge one. Like, ask for the help. Don't be like scared of putting out there, because you're going to get it back tenfold. And that's
Yes.
what I've noticed.
And that's such an important aspect of building up your community,
Mhm.
is being able to ask either your community or even participating in others' communities, is
Yeah,
that you have the option of asking questions. And
yeah.
there's a lot of times that you might be able to barter something with someone, because you
Oh,
know what,
100%.
we're all starting out somewhere, and so there's so many opportunities to be had in
Yeah.
those
Well, and
communities.
that's the thing. Just ask. Like, the worst they can say is no, and then you go
That's
to
how
someone
we
else.
met. We
Yeah,
met in Rachel's community, and now we're working
yeah,
together. Isn't that cool? That's exactly what I'm talking
yeah.
about. Now you mentioned that you have a 21-day journal. Can you tell me a little
Yes.
bit about that?
So my 21-day journal is about connecting with your higher self, and it takes people on daily prompts in my journal. It's on my webpage, which is GenineTurnbull.com. And you can go on there, you can sign up, and it will go to your inbox. And then you open it up, and every day it'll give you some kind of prompt to connect with yourself. Excuse me. In order to, like I said, to connect with your higher self. So like day one, it'll ask you some certain questions about your inner self that you wouldn't normally ask in order to really look inwards and deep, so that because sometimes we get derailed, right? Sometimes we don't know how to ask ourselves these questions. So I have a free 21-day journal that helps people with this. And then that way, after the 21 days, they do everyday prompts in their journal and they write out. And journaling is huge. Every client I work with, I get them to journal because so much stuff comes out and they're like, well, I don't know how to journal. Well, just put your fingers to paper with a pen. Yeah, see,
My journals are on Amazon.
Yeah, put your fingers to the paper with the pen
Yeah.
and just write what comes out. And it's amazing what happens. And when with my journal, when people are doing this, they don't a lot of times internally, they don't ask these questions. So when they're done, they're like, whoa, I know myself on a way deeper level. And that's your higher self, right? Your inner self is your higher self. It's your intuition. So it helps you tap into that in order to make positive, healthier decisions going forward. And then from there, you may have this one goal after internalizing and really doing these 21 steps. You're like, you may change that completely because you're like, whoa, that's not actually what is fitted for me. And that's why I created this 21-day free journal, because people need that, right?
Yes, I'm such a big fan of journaling. Journaling has looked very different for me throughout the years. I had to get permission to not, sometimes I like writing, but drawing is another acceptable form of journaling. I
Oh
learned
yeah,
that.
anything like
Yes.
that.
So I don't know, so I don't know if someone needs some permission, but journaling doesn't have to be like a homework assignment.
No, it's letting out your inner thoughts. A lot of times what happens is during the day, we have so many different things coming at us, so many different thoughts, and not everybody practices meditation, right? And here's the thing I'm going to say. Meditation isn't just sitting down with your legs crossed and your eyes closed. Meditation can be sitting outside listening to the leaves blow in the wind. And this is where the misconception happens, right? Excuse me. But a lot of times, people, they just allow these thoughts to keep rolling around and they don't know how to get them out. So when you journal, it's an easy way to release these negative the thoughts, this victim mentality, your dysfunction. It lets it go because you can you're not internalizing anymore. You're putting it out, you're seeing it, and you're like, whoa, that's ridiculous. Why did I even think that?
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's such a good point. Because sometimes we'll have something. I remember once going to a doctor's appointment, and there was something rattling around in my head. I don't even remember what it was. I don't remember what it was. But as soon as I came out of my mouth, it was like I could see the words in front of me. And I looked at the doctor and I was like, that doesn't even make sense. She's like, you see, just by putting it out there,
Yeah.
it gives it this form. And the other thing is, in my writing, when I let myself get into it, there's gold in there. There's times that I read that stuff and I'm like, this is my journal? Like, I didn't even know I knew this. Like, where did this come from? Like, how can I teach myself things?
My whole business and my courses came from writing.
Yeah.
Everything, just from letting out what I was telling other people. And I'm like, what did I tell that person? And it's all in there. And then just writing out, I would get stuck on a loop. I call it looping. And I was like, what is going on? So I'd write out, and then I get to the point of why this is happening. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm scared of this. Why am I scared of this? Is this really scary? No, it's not really scary. You can branch it out.
And another form of journaling that I very recently discovered was writing down things I'm grateful for.
Yeah, that's called scripting.
Scripting. Okay, cool. See, I didn't know that, but I have gratitude journals on Amazon and everything because it was such a big part of my transformation and me overcoming myself.
Yes.
So that's super cool. I didn't know I had a name, but
yeah, well, it also too, you can do it scripting with gratitude, but you can also, here's another thing, because I love giving free info out. You can write as if what you want to manifest has already happened.
Yes. Well, that one was a little bit tougher for me And so it was a lot easier for me to come in with the gratitude and be like,
Mm.
I'm grateful for this. But that was
Yeah,
a stepping stone
it's
for me. Yes.
well, and it's very similar, right? You're
Mhm.
grateful for this. This is stuff you've already had. But if you push it a little bit more and you write about stuff that you want, that you're trying to manifest, you keep doing that on a daily basis in your journal, or even in my 21 day free connect with your higher self, you do that on a frequent, because it takes 21 days to implement
Yes.
anything new. What's going to happen is you're going to start attracting that, because in your subconscious brain, you're already programming that you're
Exactly.
taking the steps, right? It's amazing. Like the
And
brain
then
is.
you go throughout the day. What happened, an unintended byproduct of this, is that I would go throughout my day and I started noticing more things to be grateful for,
Mhm.
because it adjusts your perspective. You're not thinking
Yeah,
about the other things. You're not thinking about lack. You're thinking about gratitude. And so
yeah. It's
looking back
reprogram. Yeah, it's
helped me, yes,
reprogramming.
move
Yeah,
forward. That's
yeah.
awesome. Oh,
Um,
look, we have the same color. Oh, I love it.
purple is my jam.
Okay, so last thing I'm gonna ask you about.
Oh,
We've gotta
I
talk about
didn't.
it.
I didn't say the third.
Oh, yes, yes, go the third.
Yes. So my third advice is doing some self-love. Like anything for self-love is really important, especially when like you're trying to build a business or you're trying to get over any kind of trauma, whatever it is, you need to take time out for yourself, because we will get overwhelmed and then we will get sucked into that, and it
Mm.
it it breeds stress, it brings anxiety, it brings like negative self-talk, negative thinking, like, oh my God, I can't do this. And then it just, you spiral, right?
Yes, it's
So self-love is my number 3, very important.
thank you. No, it is very important, having grace for ourselves and giving ourselves time for self-care and just appreciating ourselves and recognizing our accomplishments, because as women, we
Yeah.
tend
When's the last time you went out and bought
to
yourself flowers?
Okay, that's a good point. Cannot I cannot answer that question.
I buy my own flowers weekly. They're in pots because I don't like cutting them, but I get myself plants or crystals, or I give myself a bubble bath, like, or drink some tea, like anything. It's important. It's very important.
Yes, and yes, yes. And that's something that I've started incorporating too. Um, the one thing that I do want to talk to you about is your Facebook group here.
Okay.
So talk to me about the nude beach, because we got to talk about what's going on there. Are we getting
Okay,
naked
so
here?
if you're looking for me on Facebook, it is Facebook groups / the nude beach. And the
Mhm.
whole concept of that is I help empower souls. The group is empowering souls to unmask from past trauma in order to build healthier relationships. And my whole concept is we're unmasking in there. The nude beach actually started when I was in a band and I would get people nude. And my whole philosophy around it was, if you don't have your clothes on, you're not trying to be someone that you're not. And so with this, it's not about nudity at all. It's about unmasking from these limitations and these thoughts of what we aren't and that we think we are, because we put on these clothes throughout the day, like the businesswoman or the mom or the lawyer or whatever it is, the doctor, the students. We think we are that, and we get lost in the labels, right? So in my group, the nude beach, we unmask from all of that. We unmask from we get raw and real and naked in our emotions.
Love it. I love it. I will
Yeah.
see you there.
Yes. And so if you're looking it up without typing in facebook.group.the nude beach, you can find it by empowering souls to unmask from the past trauma to build healthier relations. And like, I go over lots of stuff in that group, and we are interacting. We talk about like narcissism. We talk about past trauma and how to not get stuck there. We talk about relationship building. We talk about money manifesting. We talk about everything. Like, it's a very open group, because I want people not to be afraid. Like, everybody has different thought processes, everybody has different beliefs, and there's no judgment in my group. You can come, you can talk, and nobody's going to harp on you for it, because we all have, as my grandma used to always tell me, we all have buttholes, just like we have opinions. Like, so keep it to yourself, like, right? And your negative talk, we don't allow that. We're about community building and moving past. We don't want to relive traumas, right? We want to push that out, let go of it, so we can create more. We can create the abundance that we want, whether it's relationships, whether it's money that you're trying to manifest, whatever it is. I do all different aspects. So yeah, this group hones in on that, and it's a beautiful community. I just started it, so it's a smaller, short knit group, but I want to build it, right? I want to get a bunch of people in there, and like us all cheering on each other. And like I make posts about what successes you're accomplishing, what you're doing. Like I want to know what is going on in people's lives, right? Because that's community building. It's about understanding and being there for each other. Because a lot of times, like for myself, when I was starting out, I did it alone, right? And the people, I had to get rid of everybody. And it can feel very daunting and very scary. And so I want this for people that do feel alone, knowing that they are not alone. And it's okay. And if you're having a bad day, you could be like, hey, this is what's going on with me. And then everyone will be like, man, I got you.
Yes. And and you know what? The community it's so important to help us remember it's not just me, like this is part of the human experience. You're not an anomaly, like you're not the only one person out of everybody on the planet that this is happening to.
No, so true.
Like, and if you are, let's monetize that junk, right?
Right.
So yes, that's such a good point. I love the whole idea of getting naked in your emotions, because we do walk around all guarded, and
Yeah.
I've been seeing these posts now about have you noticed that women are like not getting together to gossip anymore, but to empower each other? And
I
like
posted that.
yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, perfect. On Facebook, right? Because we follow each other. Yes. And so it's so true. Like that is what we're doing. Like this is a perfect example of you and me, strangers, supporting each other.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
we're not in this alone. We can't build without community. And this is what people forget. They think that they can conquer the world, but it takes an army. Like it takes a village. It's like raising a child, right? You can do it by yourself, but you're going to be exhausted. You need support, right? It's just like business too. You need support. Or if you're going through trauma, you need support to get out of it. It all correlates with anything. And it's so important. It's so important. And we tend to forget that. We're like, for me, I was always like, oh, I could do it by myself. No, I couldn't.
I mean, you probably could, but like, you've got 5 million other things that you've got to do too. And like, do you really even want to? Like,
well, the thing is, it's stressful, it's overwhelming. And even if I want to say I could do it all and I could be Superwoman, the reality is I can't. There are so many things that I don't have the talent for that other people have the talent for.
Yes.
Right. Absolutely. And I could say I could do it all, and I could probably figure it out.
And you know what, that's a really important lesson in itself too, is knowing where your lane is and knowing how to say no to things that don't fit into that hedgehog concept,
Oh yes, the people pleasing is
yes. And then partnering up. That's the wonderful thing about this community too, is that we are experts for each other. So if I have some, I can refer people to you, you can refer people to me. And there's not that stigma, because we know what we do, and so we know that we're going to work together, and then everything will.
Yeah. Well, it's about helping each other, sisters rise.
Yes.
Like I work with men too, and masculine, feminine, it's in all of us, right? But it's about that movement. You can't get anything done if you're being greedy on your own. You're going to have it move way quicker if you're working with other people and helping them. They're going to go and help you. And before I never did that. I was doing it all by myself. And then I was like, oh, okay, wait, no, if I help this person's going to help me, which is going to take this load off my shoulders. And it's beautiful. And I've met some like with you, and with many others, I've been building really great relationships that have been super helpful, and has helped my business skyrocket way quicker, because it's not about one individual. We are all the same, like in one form or a fashion,
I love
right?
it. You made me think of the saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Right?
Yes.
Yes. And it's so true. And, you know, we're not Rambo. Like, we
No.
can't take on everything alone. You know what I mean? Like, it's all about teamwork. Like, we're more like the
Yeah.
Avengers, right? Like, we need each other here.
Yeah. So true.
This has been so amazing, Genine. Thank you so much. Do you have any
Yes.
last minute remarks here?
No, just thank you for having me. Thank you to anybody who's listening. Come join me in the nude beach and make sure to get my free journal. My information is JanineTurnbull.com, and you can find me on Facebook, Genine Turnbull. I'm easy. You
Yes.
find me anywhere, use my name.
And as always, all the links are going to be included in the show notes. So, you know, it's going to be super easy for people to keep in
Wonderful.
touch with you. All right. Thank you so much, Genine. I
Thank
hope
you
you have a
so much.
great rest of the day, and I
You
will see
too.
you at the nude beach. Woohoo!
Yes, thank you, Nicole. You have a wonderful day.